Hello, welcome back to another segment in excerpts from A Spiritual Ascension. Thank you for all my new subscribers. I'm like ecstatic, even though, it's not that many at this point, but I know that we're a different group and it's not like, everyone is going to relate to who we are. So I don't expect, I shouldn't say that. So I'm hopefully manifesting, um, more to awaken into this ascension process, but also knowing that we are a special group and that those of you that are recognizing why you're here and kind of understanding the words that I'm speaking are here for a reason. Okay, if that makes sense. But thank you, and thank you for the likes, and I really appreciate you guys. I just recently, sorry, my first video of the day, so it's kind of getting my words together. I recently did a video on the reason why you were born, right? And I kind of went into um, talking about our siblings and how, we're all raised within the same household, same parents, things like that. But we all experience that growing up in a different way. We have a different perspective of it. So now, if you were to sit down with your siblings at an older age and get their take on an event that happened in all of your lives, each one of you would see it differently. Um, anyway, from that, I started thinking about how, even for in my own case, that if you've been following along with my story and understand that my sisters, because of the religion I was raised in, needed to shun me. Um, because I had left that religion when I was in my mid 20s. And I told a story about my nephew, my middle sister's son, who back in 2011, no, 2012, I'm sorry, was getting married. And like she had him when I was only, I think, 14. So I was still home. And when he was first, brought home the first grandchild, and we used to have him a lot at our house. So him and I kind of, in a way, grew up together. And I was so excited about the wedding. And even though I no longer participated in the religion, I still assumed I was going to be going to the wedding. Um, she had then contacted me. I think the wedding was going to be in July of 2012. And she contacted me, I think, in April, and called me one day after work. I had got home and she says, "I'm sorry, I love you, but I can't have you come to his wedding." And she said, "Because if you are there, God's Holy Spirit won't be." And because I still hadn't awakened at that point, actually, that was kind of the trigger to my first initial awakening. Um, some of you also may have awakened in 2012. That's really a kind of a important year where a lot of those who are going through the ascension process. Um, that was a pivotal year for many. It's 2012. Anyway, I understood because I understood the religion and how if you leave, you are shunned by all others. And even though they kind of still would reach out by phone or every once in a while, they would not come visit me. So there was no social contact. And that was kind of like a punishment as far as it's like kind of putting someone on a timeout. And like, until you change your ways, we're not going to associate with you, you know? And the hurt, oh my goodness, the hurt and pain from that was so deep for me because, like I grew up with these two people. And it was also embarrassing because here I am, the aunt of my nephew. And when it's time for the wedding now, everyone else is going to be, oh, where's Marilyn, So, but like I had to start putting a lot of those things to the side and say, am I going to continue on with what I um, am starting to know? Because right after that, that triggered me into starting to understand more about this religion. And I just did all this deep research about it. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I can't believe that I was a part of that, or even that my family remained in it. Um, Later on, interestingly, as I've told you, my father, my son, my grandmother, very important in giving me strict instructions on what I needed to do going forward from 2017, which was taking me into my journey. I didn't know that at the time, but my maternal grandfather eventually, through a medium, showed up, and he said to me, I was the one who brought you out of that religion. And I was like, wow, like he had passed away before I was even born. So I never even got a chance to meet him. But to understand that your family is so invested in you, even in spirit, that you stay on your path, get on your journey, and that you attain um, your goal, right? Your destiny of where you're supposed to end up. And it was such a blessing too to be able to speak to him, you know, um, for the first time and feeling like I well knew him, like the words he was speaking to me was, that of a grandfather. And I forget, he said something else really important. I can't remember what it was. So, oh, I know, something about me feeling guilty. Oh, that's so important because he said it seems like you feel guilty for leaving the religion. And I said, well, yeah, in a way, I knew that it was felt deep down inside. It was something that I needed to do. My intuition was telling me. I actually kind of even, you say that you hate a religion, but growing up, I so disliked um, being in that religion. But of course, there was the guilt of there was nothing else that I knew, right? And also, if God hears me with these thoughts, I'm going to be struck down, dead or something like that. And it took me a long time to overcome a lot of those thoughts and that guilt. Oh, a long time to get over that guilt. So that was a really important part of, as I'm talking about in this video, saying that a need to release. So you're probably going to be releasing not only friends, situations, jobs, relationships, but probably family. Because the thing is, as I say, you're having two lives within one lifetime. So you can't bring anything with you that was a part of your past life into your new life. Like I have nothing from my old life in this new life now. Nothing, absolutely nothing. No contact with anyone. Um, Everything's been released. So there's this thing of now, it took me, I think when I say 5 years of going through this transition and saying, oh my goodness, when I look back now, it's like, I can't believe I've been on this journey for 5 years. But there's a reason for that. Like the first 3 years, if you, hopefully you're following along with, there's a whole different playlist on, I'm telling my whole entire story on my journey. So hopefully you've been following along with that. The first 3 years was all about the letting go. Okay, letting go of the relationships, the situations, the material things that I owned. That was all about letting go. The next 2 years are all about the journey, is the intensive strength building within you. Um, so just starting to talk about that now. Hopefully, if you are following along, start at the intro video and then go forward from there because it's in chronological order, okay? But what I'm saying is there was a lot of anger within myself at my sisters for treating me the way they did. And like, I don't know if they want to say that it felt like, not that they viewed me as being below them, but that's the way they made me feel because you're not good enough to have association with. You're not good enough for us to embrace you as our sister because you've left this religion. And that like really hurt to the core. Um, so there was this thing of chewing, of letting go, but now my knowing that I'm never going to have to deal with them or that situation. And then the whole brainwashing, too, that I had to undo to say that how could someone tell me, as a sovereign being, what religion I'm supposed to follow? Just because that is your religion doesn't mean that it has to be mine. And that's what I'm talking about in the beginning, as far as siblings all growing up. We all went to the same, church and everything like that, but we all had different experiences as far as how we ended up um, receiving that. And I rejected it. So there had to come a point of, I know I'm no longer going to be associated with these two people who were so important in my life. I mean, um, I'm the youngest, so when my parents would go out, practically every weekend, my father would take my mother somewhere out to dinner or to the movies or something like that. They were responsible for me. And, I would irritate them and agitate them just on purpose. And my sisters would be on the phone, talking to their boyfriends and stuff like that. Um, and they were supposed to put me to bed at a certain time. And I would get into bed and they were watching TV in our den, and I would sneak and get back up and kind of inch my way back into the room. And they wouldn't say anything at first because and then finally they would, if I irritated them again, they would tell me to get back into bed. So just having I'm going to get teary eyed now, that relationship with my siblings, and I had to cut that tie. But now going forward with, thank you for that time that we had together um, as siblings, but I need to now cut that tie with you, and I forgive you for how you treated me, and I release this. Um, and now I'm going. going forward with with the healing process. That's hard. If you've grown up with, whoever family member it is, to now have to release them, forgive them for for whatever happened, and now to go through that healing and divine spirit, the universe, however you refer to our higher source, gives you that time to heal from all of that. That's not an easy process to go through. That's years and years that you've built those relationships, and you're not going to overnight say, I've gotten over it, because you're not going to go over it. I still have dreams about them. Um, but it's more of an easy acceptance of that. I know my life is so much better now than putting myself back into that situation where I was treated so badly. Okay, so hopefully all that makes sense. I thank you so much for being here, and please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to spend time with me, have a reading, there's a link below to book time with me. I've also done several courses on the Ascension process, and that link is below. Okay, I'll see you next time.